Good evening, everyone, and
The hills
welcome
are
to
alive with the
Austria. We're
sound
here at the Red
of
Bull Ring
engines.
for
It's
round
race
9
day
of
here at
Division
the
1
Austrian
action in
Grand
the
Prix.
6th season of Zoom Racing League. I'm your host, Buffalo Trace. Sprint qualifying tonight as our drivers look to begin the final push towards
The
the end
Spielberg
of the
circuit then is
season.
situated
It's just
700
about the
metres
shortest
above sea
track on the
level,
calendar,
with
10
just 10
turns,
corners
lap
making
times
up one of the
just over a
shortest
minute.
laps of the
3D
season.
red zones
One
provide some
time around
prime
here is a
overtaking
distance of around
opportunities and multiple
2.6
points
miles, with the
throughout
best
the lap.
overtaking
Now, we've seen
chances
weather
into
come into
turn
play
1
in
or the
each of the
tight
three
uphill of
lower
turn
division
3.
races, either in one session, quali, sprint, or the race. So we'll see if that has an effect here on Division 1. I'm joined once again by the man, the myth, the legend, Nathan Doan. Nathan, standings, what are you looking out for tonight?
Alright, so Constructors Battle, it looks pretty straightforward for Red Bull tonight. If they can prosper in the Red Bull Ring, their home race, then they will be very clear for a championship win even, because 3 rounds left to go after this one. That's not too much, and they have a lead by 17 points against your own team, Buffalo Trace Alfa Romeo, in second place, 1 point leading Aston Martin, and then 1 point right behind Aston Martin, Ferrari. So 3 teams in 3 points, separated by 3 points for second place. So that's going to be exciting. Then we have a similar story from 4th to 6th with Alpine, Mercedes, and AlphaTauri both spread out by 3 points, 176, 174, and 172 respectively. And then the back markers are Haas, Williams, and McLaren this season. McLaren not really having a good season as they wanted to, but that's alright as the drivers come out of the pit lane now. They are ready to get some laps in for us.
Yeah, they kind of lingered a little bit in the pits, Nathan. So I alluded to it in the intro. Weather definitely had an impact on all of the sessions earlier this weekend. So I'm wondering if they were kind of trying to decide between dry setup, wet setup, something in between, prepping for intermediates, some last minute setup tweaks. But we only got 3 of the cars out now, and over a minute into the session.
So I'm getting some DMs from Abib now. I wonder if that is the forecast. Yes, it is. So, here we go. Everything else is dry other than the race, which starts on inters and then goes dry. So exciting in the feature race, but everything else, including quali and the sprint race, I'm assuming are dry.
Should be dry. So Camborne was the first one out of the pits. He's now deferred to, I believe that's Major Castleman now in the lead here, who will set his first heater as another trail of cars comes in. So that's probably what they were doing. I mean, Nathan, what do? You have quali, you have a full sprint race, and then you know the tail end of the race is going to be dry. Do you go dry setup all the way and just try to labor through the first part?
Well, between races, park ferme is not going to affect your front wing, so maybe for the start of the race you can put up the front wing just a little bit, a few notches of downforce extra, and then when you pit for the dry tires, you can put it back down to what it was for your dry setup, and that should be good enough for the wet rain conditions. So setups are pretty straightforward here. Like you said, I think it will just be dry setup with a bit ticks of front wing. That's about it. We have Major Castleman on a lap right now, going pretty quickly, honestly. We're expecting times to be around the low 104s, maybe high 103s here, actually. And we'll see what Major Castleman can do.
Yeah, double purple sectors, of course. That's because he's the first one to set a heater. He's going into the final sector here. Turn 9 and turn 10, of course, carrying as much speed. Taking that in 5th gear. Slinging it around. He's going to be the first one to cross the line. Major Castleman puts a 104.9. Followed closely by Cam Bourne, puts a 105.0. So unless the track is cold, I agree with you, Nathan. I think we're going to see some faster times, and we already do. Hudson Poole puts it on provisional pole for the sprint with a 104.498.
I mean, that's kind of what we expected from Hudson Poole, a man to watch this night. He's already ahead by now 4 tenths, just about, from Magnussen Cuba, reserve driver for Ferrari from Division 2. He put up a great time, and Quinton Kay has gone faster than Hudson Poole, the championship leader, has been dethroned by the Williams driver of Quinton Kay, and then
Oh,
Lewis Piper in the Ferrari by 3 tenths.
yeah, now they're all starting to come around with heaters. Track already starting to evolve a little bit. Harold Altmaier will be on his lead lap. The Alfa Romeos put in P3 and P9 respectively for provisional. Arrow will definitely look to improve upon that 105.3. I think he's got more in the tank for sure. Major Castleman will be coming into the pits. That looks like the tail end of the runners there. So yeah, already first one out. We already have one in the low 104s. So I certainly expect someone in the 103s by the end of the session.
Yeah,
Gets
so
good
big
block
names
clear.
like sorry, and yeah, so big names like Aaron Altmaier have invalidated their first lap and don't have enough battery to go out on another one. Good job by Luke Locklear, put up a lap for P5, and something we missed, I believe that's Marc-Olivier Bastien, who's put P3, and the top three, no, top 2, 3, and 4 are separated by, I think that's 600ths of a second.
Yeah, he just spun out too on his in lap. Marco Bastien, or unless that was Era, and there may have been Era Carvalho behind him, um, who spun out a little bit. So get back to the pits. They'll come in for their next heater. Trying to find out who could be on a hot one right now. Maybe combined YouTuber.
Calist.
It's up on board with Cal, who's actually right in front of combined YouTuber. We'll set the time first. He sets a purple sector too, if you can believe any of those colors at this point in the stage. Coming into turn 9, it looks like combined YouTuber had a moment, so he'll lose his heater. We'll hop back on board with Cal. He's coming across on turn 10. DRS open, crosses the line. 104.968. I'd be willing to get that bet that Cal has a little bit more in the tank for him as well.
Alright, so reserve drivers here tonight. We have combined YouTuber in the Haas, of course, coming up from Division 2. Then we have Dougie Falcons, also from Division 2, the championship leader in Division 2. I think he's a very fast driver and could even fight near the front in Division 1. So we're looking to see some of that from Dougie Falcons. Colin Edwards is a driver from Alpine, coming up from Division 2 as our previous 2 reserve drivers on his outlap right now. Kenny LeFlair has just joined the session, also a D3 reserve driver, and he's going to be driving for, I believe, AlphaTauri. And then we also have Magnus Cube, as mentioned earlier, and I believe that's it for reserve drivers. And yeah, hopefully good drives from all our reserve drivers. You know, lower divisions, it means that they're probably just going to be a little bit slower, but I wouldn't count them out for any action around here.
No, it's really not, right? I think this is probably Kenny's third race of the weekend, and he seems pretty formidable around this track. So, a lot of incidents can happen, right? Something, big moment or something, and he could find himself fighting for a top 10 spot in Division 1. So that'd be really cool to see him driving on a Sunday night and have a good performance. So we'll hop in with Dougie Falcons real quick. Red Bull reserve driver filling in for Duncan McCamick, who is on vacation. DRS open, and he is on his first heater of the day. So Dougie Falcons probably himself is a borderline D1 talent, right? I mean, I think there's been some speculation that he could be in line for D1 either last season or this season or maybe the following season. But I look for Dougie, reserve driver, whatever. I look for him to be kind of fighting towards the front for the majority of this race. He sits at purple sector 1.
I mean, some could argue that he was supposed to be in Division 1 this season. I believe he won last season's Division 1, no, Division 2 championship. So, yeah, impressive driver, definitely Dougie Falcons. Let's see what he can do as he comes to Sector 2's checkpoint. Going into Sector 3, what's the time? It's going to be a 44.959. Pretty respectable time so far. He continues down to this fast right-hander, and it's going to be into another fast right-hander. Very easy to invalidate here. He does not, though. Keeps it very nice on track limits. Fourth gear, fifth gear, coming down to the line now. Very quick time. What will it be? It will be a 1:04.713. Good enough for P6.
Good enough for P6 for Dougie Falcons. The Red Bulls putting it on P4 and P6 respectively. Hudson Poole is on an outlap as he begins another heater. Let's up in with Marc-Louis Bastien, who is on his second heater. He's in P3. He's coming across the line, and no, actually, my apologies. He's gonna set a heater right now. So we'll try to
I believe
find someone who's on one now.
his teammate is on the hot lap, I believe. He's about to end his lap here. He's got a Red Bull right ahead of him. Should pull over to the right. It's a little bit of a tow from the Red Bull. Won't gain much there. Seventh gear through the right-hander. Fifth gear through the right-hander. Once again, down to the line. It looks like a bit quicker time for the Alfa Romeo driver, and it is good for P10, P11 now. As someone jumped up the table, I believe that was Maxi Bolio.
Maxime
Actually,
Beaulieu
no,
now with a P8. Yeah, Colin Edwards, too, while we were paying attention to Dougie Falcons, put in a P10. So we've seen him a lot reserve here in D1, and he's always good for bin pack and above, for sure, right? And he can be clean and consistent here. And sometimes that's all you need. He puts in a nice P10 time of 104.928. Kenny LaFleur is late. He's hopped in the Alpha Tauri and will begin his procedure of setting up these setups and getting out.
Yeah, so the two Mercedes, a team where, we obviously expect them to be at the front. They're Mercedes. They're a great team in real Formula One, so that should surely transfer to Zoom Racing League. Here comes Major Castleman down to the line now. The second Mercedes driver is hopped in late in the season, going to the line now. What will it be? It will be a 104.988. It will not be good to improve at all, but his teammate is about to enter Sector 2 as someone has jumped the charts. I believe that was Aaron Altmaier as Luke Locklear goes to this fast left-hander. Lewis Hamilton spun out there, and Luke Locklear has invalidated his lap right
Ah,
at that corner.
shame.
Lewis Piper goes fastest with a time 100th faster than his previous lap. Lewis Piper extending his advantage, but drivers such as Hudson Poole, I actually believe that Hudson Poole has invalidated his previous lap and is coming into the pits soon on this lap.
He's
Looks
looking
like
a
we have
little
Mark
slow.
Bastian on his lap 2, unless he's coming into the pits here. Oh, Quinton K is finishing his lap though, coming to the line right now. It's going to be a 104.416. Not good enough to jump any positions, but he's P2. He doesn't really need to, does he?
Nope, he improves a little bit, right? And we still got a whole sprint race to go, right? So let's hop in with this. Is Marcel Green is looking to improve. He's improved so far by 3/10. What does he put in? P8, 104.682. Pushing everyone else down the ladder, of course. Kenny LaFleur getting set for his first heater of the day. Mind YouTuber's only valid lap right now is a 112.560. And remember, he did have that spin as well, so he's got 5 minutes to string it all together and get something quick on the board. Let's up in
Yes,
with
at one.
Kenny's teammate real quick, because I think Cal... Nope, he invalidated. He might be pulling in.
Yes, and the pole sitter's teammate right now, Mexican Cube, is on a hot lap. We expect a lot more time from him, except for this lap, because his first lap in Division 2 was a 108.46. So definitely more time in this lap for
Yeah.
Magnuson Cube. What will it be going through Sector 2? Looks like to take it very quickly, these left-handers, and that's really how you want to do it. He's not gained any time, though. He looks a lot faster through that left-hander, a bit of a moment coming out of it, but that's all right. Into this right-handed. Now goes 6th gear to carry more minimum speed, and he goes into the
Right
pits.
into the pits. Yeah, so he must have not had enough time there. I wanted to get in and out as quick as he could.
I believe that Maxime Bolio is on a hot now. I think he invalidated his previous one, just saved up the battery, and is now going for a lap here. His engineer watches on Labib12, a very famous guy here. He's watching this time and make sure it goes up, and it does by 1.46 tenths. And he's going through the final corner now. Actually, no, not the final corner. He's going into the penultimate corner. Sorry, the 6th gear, and carries a lot of speed through it. 5th gear here, lots of speed coming through the final corner. Coming down to the line now. I think it will be a good time, and it will. Good for P5.
P5. Aston Martin's with a third row lockout right now. The 104.584. Really nice time from the guys in green. We were around with Kenny LaFleur too, who unfortunately invalidated, so he'll pull into the pits. But I think Eric Carvalho is now on a heater as well. So hop in with him for the time being as he exits the second DRS zone into the middle of Sector 2. Approaching turn 5.
Yes, I mean, very crucial to carry lots of speed through these left-handers here. That's where the most lap time is gained. He goes off the track, doesn't invalidate, but he does abort the lap.
He does.
Dougie Falcon jumps up into P4 faster than his Red Bull teammate, and I believe that's his final hot lap. So that will be the end of qualifying for Dougie Falcons unless he can somehow string together a perfect out lap for his final lap. But great hot lap from the Red Bull driver. I believe that's is that. No, so Era's invalidated his lap, or aborted it actually. Big Mama Frank is starting his lap right now in the McLaren.
On with BMF, he'll look to improve on his 105.602, 7/10 from Cal in P15. We're also not used to seeing Cal down there in P15 himself, right? Usually he's up there towards midfield and top as well. BMF late entrant, full time, back again in the McLaren seat. Really good to see him back racing with us here in ZRL. Takes that tricky turn 3, which I think is probably like one of the slipperiest corners on the track. Really hard to get good traction there and a strong exit speed, and it's crucial, of course, going into another DRS zone. So BMF coming here into turn 5. Got to carry as much speed as possible. Splits that curb, early turn in, take that in 5th. Hits that one a little bit, but you really want to make sure that line is good coming into here as we get towards the end of the penultimate sector. The yellow in sector 2 could be an Alpine just moving over. Big Mama Frank into turn 10, 5th gear, full throttle. DRS now open. What does he put on in the McLaren? It's a 105.337. He'll stay in P16.
Combined YouTuber starting this final hot lap now. As you said, turn 3, one of the slipperiest corners of probably the entire calendar. You used to get an email from your race engineer Jeff in career mode, and it would mention that the exit of that corner had the same traction as a non-stick frying pan, and that is exactly right.
Yup.
We'll see as Combined YouTuber go through. It looks like fairly planted, honestly, for the Haas driver. So maybe that'll give him more lap time. I think it will. Going down into turn 4, not turn 3 as some would call it, but there's a little left kink in the second straight, which is considered a turn, I guess. Nothing for an F1 car. And let's see what this left-hander will look like for Combined YouTuber. It looks like he takes it just a bit wide, carries enough speed through it. He's up 6 seconds, as he should, because his first lap was a 1:12.5.
Right.
And he's going into this penultimate corner now. Very fast speed, I believe 140 miles per hour. Yep, 145 through this right-hander. Now 114 miles per hour, going down to the line, raising way above 120, and that is 105.174. Good for only P16.
Good for P16 as he watches the McLaren spin around. I think that was Big Mama Frank who spun around in turn 1. Is it going to affect the Ferraris? No, Lewis Piper may have seen it in the corner of his eye, hoping that didn't slow him down at all because he's on the heater, and he's going to try to improve on his time of 104.1 for provisional pole. Everybody on heaters right now, and we're going to see Lewis Piper and Quentin K cross the line at the same time. It looked like, I got on a little late, Nathan, but it looked like Lewis Piper was a little slow coming out of the exit turn 3.
I don't know if I'd say that, but just the time will tell. He looks very fast out of turn 4, actually, not really taking any of the exit curve, just letting the track do its thing, going through this left-hander. Now, let's see what it is as the end sector 2. He's up on his time, but just barely. So hopefully that will be enough to cushion, and he's invalidated his lap.
Oh. Luckily, Bastien put up a P2 in between while we were watching Lewis Piper, so he's on the front row as well provisionally. We'll stick with overall Quentin K right now as he comes into the end of turn 10 here, carrying as much speed as possible. We'll see if he can improve upon his current P3 time of 104.4. He does. He snatches P2 from the Alfa Romeo driver by 1,000th of a second. Quentin K now in the front row.
Here comes Hudson Poole, the championship leader, to the line. What will the time be? It will be good enough for P4 only. His teammate right behind him, Dougie Falcons, going into the final corner, carrying not a lot of speed through here. What will it be as he crosses the line? Now it's good for only P5, improves
He'll
on his
stay
time,
P5.
but not enough. And this is the order for the sprint race. We have Lewis Piper on pole position, Quentin K snatching P2 from Marc-Olivier Bastien by 1 millisecond, and Marc-Olivier Bastien in P3. The two Red Bulls, 4 and 5, Hudson Poole leading the two. Maxime Willio is in 6th position. Marcel Green splits the two Aston Martins, and Aaron Altmaier is in P8. Cam Bourne in the Alpine is P9. Luke Locklear in the first Mercedes is P10. His teammate in 13th, and in between them, Cal and Magnussen Cube respectively. Colin Edwards is P14. Eric Carvalho is P15, and Kenny LaFleur, combined YouTuber, and Big Mama Frank, 16th, 17th, and 18th.
So Kenny LaFleur able to come in here and beat one D2 driver and one D1 driver and qualify P16. So nice job by Kenny after invalidating his first lap to get up there. A lot can happen here in the sprint race. So we'll see. Red Bull's got to be happy too, right? I mean, you got a P4 and a P5 here one of which being a reserve driver. Um, they look good so far. Williams, too. Williams has 2 in the top 7, including Quentin K on the front row. So Williams and Red Bull poised to do some damage here as we get into the sprint race. Remember, Adiriel top 8 positions in the sprint. Do award points. Counts down from 8. So
Yes,
points
so
plenty available tonight.
also Aston Martin doing a great job. Both cars in the top 8 so far, and Alfa Romeo might even be in a good stinging position. I mean, of course, they only have one car up in the top 10, but that's P3 for them. So hopefully a good result for all of these teams that we've just mentioned. As we wait for the sprint to start, we have about 30 seconds until the sprint starts, and we cannot wait for racing action. We have double racing action. This race will be dry, but right once this race is done, it will start getting cloudy and it will start getting rainy for the feature race, which will start on rain conditions.
Waiting for everyone to get set up here on the line.
Yes, so in the sprint race, it's 12 laps of just flat out racing, no strategy call whatsoever. You don't have to pit at all. Should just be medium tires to the end, unless someone is trying to be a bit ambitious going on to the soft tire. I really don't think it's worth it with 12 laps of fuel on. It's just not gonna do too nicely to the soft tires. But hey, we'll see if anyone is that brave. We have 10 seconds until the lights go out. I'll be there to lead you through it all as we wait for the cars to just warm up the tires a little bit more, and here come the lights right now. So the first light comes on, the second one, now the third, the fourth, and now all 5 lights are on, and the lights are going to go out right now. And everyone gets away quite quickly. Quinton K doesn't get the start that he wants against Lewis Piper. Look at Mark Levy Bastion getting into P2 on the start, but Quinton K keeps it in the inside. Mark Levy Bastion has to go off, and Hudson Pool is into P3 now. He might be challenging even for P2 into turn 3 of more action in the background. That looks like a McLaren around. Going around the outside is the Red Bull of Hudson Pool. There's not enough space for him. He still sticks around the outside, side by side, going into turn 4. They power down the straight now. Will it be the Mercedes and the Williams or the Red Bull? Around the outside goes Hudson Pool. Will he be able to stick it around the outside? Quinnen still is there. Quinnen loses a position to Hudson Pool. Hudson Pool into P2 now.
Not a great start for Mark Louis Bastien. I thought he was going to lose another position to Dougie Falcons, who was charging hard after turn 1, who had the exit speed. The Aston Martin stayed put in P6 and P7, although actually Aaron Altmaier did take one position from Marcel Green, who is now in P8. The Mercs round out 9 and 10, but Lewis Piper has been able to hold on to the lead. Hudson Pool charged up, I believe, 2 positions himself, right? He started P4. So Lewis Piper puts in the first fastest lap, of course, and that gap is already 1 full second to Hudson Pool.
Yeah, we have racing action between Kenny LaFleur and combined YouTuber, both reserve drivers going through turn 1 side by side. Looks like Kenny LaFleur was just forced off, but he wasn't entitled to any room due to the racing rules. Looks like Cam Bourne is going to try overtake Magnussen Cube around the outside in turn 3. Not really ideal, but it looks like he will hang it around the outside. What an exit he's got, and that should be the position.
Nice.
Unless Magnussen Cube can fight back. He's dumping his battery already down to 25% on the second lap. Going down the inside into turn 4. He keeps his line. Ooh, they almost make a bit of contact, and Maxson Cube loses that position to Cam Bourne. Great racing from the LP driver, and now Colin Edwards is overtaking Maxson Cube. And more racing action as Era and Kenny LaFleur are going at it into turn 6. Era gets that position, but it looks like he dropped it earlier in the lap. And so our best auditor so far is Major Castleman, up 4 positions in the Mercedes. Great job to make it 9 and 10 for Mercedes. Points that they really need for this championship, but right now they won't score any points yet. This is a sprint race. Only the top 8 are scoring points, and our top 8 is Lewis Piper, Hudson Pool, Quinton K, Marco Bastion, Dougie Falcons, Maxime, and Aaron, and of course Marcel Green, who goes around right now.
Oh no!
I just went on board with
all
him.
the way at the back.
So that
Tough
promotes
start.
2 Mercedes into 8th and 9th. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, tough start for Marcel Green. He looked like he was doing okay. He had a great quali in P7, so he'll have to work himself up the rest of this sprint race and then hope to gain some ground in the actual race. Here, smallest gap, too. I'm trying to look on here. Looks like it's the Alfa Romeo.
14th here.
Say it again?
The 14th and 15th are having a little battle right now. It looks like the AlphaTauri is, yeah. He just got that position, sorry to interrupt, but Cal had a moment right before that, and he lost 5 positions from that one moment. So Era from P16 last lap, he's already into P13. What a great recovery drive this has been for Eric Cavallo so far.
Yeah, back up to P13, so that's really good. We got another yellow in sector 2 and 3. It looks like Big Mama Frank maybe pushing a little bit too hard. Let's hop in with Quentin K here, who's trying to put some pressure on Hudson Poole. And Hudson Poole's got a 3-second time penalty in the sprint. Now, these can't be removed post-race like some of the penalties in the real race, right? So this will actually affect his qualifying spot, regardless of if the penalty was deserved or not. So tough break for Hudson Poole. 3 seconds may put him all the way down to P6. So that'll definitely affect his stature going into the full race.
Yeah, I mean, while double warnings are a thing in Austria, they aren't that common. So I think it might have just been a driver error from Hudson Poole, and that's going to lose him many positions. Like Cam Board
Oh, there's
goes off the
Alpine
track
around.
in turn 4. I believe he was forced off the track. I'm not sure by who, but he went very wide out of turn 4. I don't know if he just spun around on his own, but it looked kind of unnatural, to say the least. And I know we have some tough fighters here in Magnuson Cube and Eric Cavallo. Era is already blinking on his battery, so is Magnuson Cube. Kenny LaFleur might be in a good position to make some overtakes here. I mean, he sees the blinking light right ahead of him, but the other car has DRS ahead of him, so that's not going to be a good time to overtake unless he really wants to dump his battery and go flat out.
Let's hop in with Dougie real quick, who's trying to put pressure on the Alfa Romeo, Marc-Louis Bastien, for P4. That gap is 3/10, but yeah, if you don't get that good exit out of turn 3, you're pretty much out of luck until the front straight as far as prime passing opportunities, unless somebody makes an error. So it looks like there's going to be a little bit of a DRS train starting from Hudson Poole all the way down to P9 of Luke Locklear, and then 3 seconds behind that is the D2 reserve of Colin Edwards, who's cracked the top 10. Colin Edwards could be in a position to gain some sprint race points if we get a little more action here.
Yeah, I mean, the common DRS train in Austria is going from P2 to, I believe, P9 at the moment. So very good train so far. That won't really promote overtakes, but the battery is kind of different between everyone. 6th, 7th, and 8th are both on around 40%. Dougie Falcons and Eric Cavallo, no, sorry, that's Marco Bastien. They're around 50%, and actually no, both 30% now. So it's not really changing. You really need a big battery here if you want to make any moves in this DRS train. I wonder if Quinton K will be challenging Hudson Poole soon. Hudson Poole has a bit of a moment out of the exit. Quinton K on the battery, but I don't think he'll get the position right now.
Well, he was thinking about it. He
Maybe
thought
just trying
about
to
it. Yeah.
Hudson Poole into changing his line and making him slower. It looks like Hudson Poole is still having a bit of snaps of wheel spin here, so maybe a bit of inconsistency for the Red Bull driver, and that will help Quinton K maybe get the overtake done.
Yep.
Hudson Poole is 1.3 seconds behind Lewis Piper, and that's going to cost him.
That's going to cost him. And then fighting with Quinton, of course, is going to cost him even more. He's also at a battery disadvantage. Hudson Poole only at 5-6%, whereas Quinton K is sitting at a nice 30%. So he looks like he could be in a good position. Another yellow in sector 2. Looks like Big Mama Frank around. Cam Bourne makes that overtake pretty easily. So we'll hop on with Quinton K again. Let's see if he can make a run at Hudson Poole coming in to turn 3. He thinks about it. Here he's going to come across the inside. Here's turn 3, the iciest corner on the grid. He makes it stick. Quinton K takes P2.
What a switchback from Hudson Poole, though. He's on the inside line now, fully alongside. He's entitled to all the space that he needs to make this overtake happen. Breaking just a bit later, Quinton K tries to stick it around the outside and does, but loses the traction on that exit curb. Hudson Poole stays alive for another lap.
Yeah, big winners from that engagement are, of course, Lewis Piper. That gap is now a second and a half, and Marc-Louis Bastien, who is still within 3/10, but he's got 54% battery, and these guys keep fighting it out. He can kind of lay back and try to make a move later in the race.
So I'm wondering if we have a fight between combined YouTuber and Magnuson Cube here. I mean, they're getting very close, and it looks like they've even made some contact. I don't know if Magnuson Cube has any damage. It does not look like it. They will carry on. Let's go back on board with Quinton K. Another good spot to overtake here. Does he dump the battery on this occasion? No, he does not. wonder if he's saving for later, and that's a Mercedes of Major Castleman who's around.
Oh, he's around. I thought I saw the places invert, and I thought maybe they were doing something strategic, but no. Major Castleman is around, and he's lost a ton of positions.
From P8 to P16, he's lost 8 positions, but luckily Mercedes are still in the points. Doesn't really matter. It's Cam Bourne spins around again. I was looking to see if he hit the wall. He did not. So far, 310 separates Quinn K, Marco Bastian, and Hudson Poole. We're looking to see if maybe that one of these guys is opportunistic enough. Quinn K has the most advantage right now. He has the most battery out of all 3 of these drivers. And
Oh,
Hudson Poole is actually
sorry.
closing up.
There's an incident
Is that
between
Cal
Combined
around?
YouTuber and Cal. I'm sorry to interrupt. Combined YouTuber was around, then Cal went around. All of a sudden, you're looking at Combined YouTuber face to face with Cal's side pod. Cal went into the gravel. I'm not sure if he has damage, but a little bit of incident between YouTuber and Cal, and Cal's sprint race goes from bad to worse. He's down 5 spots from P11 to P16.
Yeah, neither of the drivers having damage, so that's good to see. I had damage in the sprint race, and it was just absolutely horrible to drive. Is that Marcel Green who's around? Yes, it is in the final corner.
And the Williams were looking pretty good there, but Marcel Green was trying to recover from an early incident, and he's still in P15. We'll see if Quentin K can do anything, but he's got to fight off the Alfa Romeo of Marco Bastien, who's draining his battery, and he's going to make a move. DRS open. He goes to the inside of turn 5. And he's going to do a little bit of wheel banging.
Quinn K is around.
Oh. A little bit of wheel banging. It looked like he had enough room. I was on Marco Bastien. I couldn't quite see. We'll have to see the clip. Overall, Quentin K is around, and he's having a tough time getting his nose to the front. He's losing a ton of ground.
Yeah, from P3 to P13, all because someone was feeling a bit ambitious. I don't know if that was an Audi from the Alfa Romeo driver, but he's certainly the faster driver out of the 2. Major Castleman gets a 3-second time penalty, and now Hudson Poole is actually closing up to Lewis Piper. I'm not really sure how much it matters because he does have the penalty.
Yeah.
And right now, Marco Bastian is in the position to be P2.
He is, and Dougie Falcon is looking to take P3 as well. He's fighting off Maxime Beaulieu. He's currently got the shortest gap of the top 5, so if anyone's going to make an overtake soon, it may be Dougie Falcons, unless we switch over to Luke Locklear, who's about 4/10 behind Aaron Altmaier. So perhaps the Mercedes driver will try to put some pressure on the Aston Martins in a little bit.
Yes, and the reason no one's really overtaking Hudson Poole is because every time Hudson Poole comes out of turn 3 and maybe even turn 1, he's on the battery right away. He's on the battery right now. He knows that if you're under 10%, you might as well just burn it to 0 because you will gain it back in no time. And that's exactly what he's doing, just getting that little bit of straight line speed, which has kept him alive so far. He's losing time now to Lewis Piper, who's 1 second behind last lap. He's 1.4 right now. Now I wonder if Marco Bastian will be able to capitalize on Hudson Poole. He doesn't really need to because Hudson has that penalty. So the only really advantage that he would get right now from overtaking Hudson Poole, I can't think of one. So not really any reason. But Dougie Falcons might look to overtake Marco Bastian on track. He has more battery than the Alfa Romeo driver, but the driver ahead has DRS, so not really going to help him overtake at all.
Yeah, I want to draw attention to some of these reserves that are looking like studs here early in the sprint race. Colin Edwards in P8. He comes into the McLaren, and he's currently in a position to take away a point in the sprint race and start P8 in the big race. Kenny LaFleur as well. He's up 6 spots and is currently in P10, looking really strong in the AlphaTauri, ahead of his teammate Cal, who of course got caught up in the incident, but Kenny and Colin looking really good in the reserve seats, as well as Dougie Falcons, and that gap is now 2/10. And if there was any argument that Dougie Falcons didn't belong in D1, well, let's show him this performance here.
Yeah, when we were talking about Kenny LaFleur, we missed a battle right behind him, and it was Mitch Castleman getting past Magnussen Cube. Great overtake from the driver who's lost so much in the sprint race already. He's looking to regain everything that he can, and looking to gain something out of this is Dougie Falcons, like you just said. He's P4 right now, and yes, he does deserve it to be in D1, absolutely. I wonder if he'll go for the overtake here. He's on his battery quite early. It doesn't look like he'll gain enough time through this straight unless he goes for an ambitious dive bomb. He kind of has to because he's spent so much of his battery now. He might even go into the back of the Alfa Romeo, goes wide, locks up. Maxime Beaulieu will not be able to take advantage of that, but the positions remain the same as Dougie Falcons goes out of turn 3 and down into turn 4 right now.
That was probably the best overtaking possibility that Dougie was going to have towards the end of this race, unless there's a moment from either of the drivers in front. So as it stands, I'm I'm thinking Hudson may fall to maybe P5 or P6 if I'm doing my quick math right. I don't think he'll fall as deep as P7, but we'll see how these gaps shake out in the end. And we'll
Look at
hop
this
on
move
with
from Major
Hudson as
Castleman.
Lewis is about to cross the line.
So Major Castleman and Kenny LaFleur are going side by side through turn 6, already in a rep once again, and it looks like Major Castleman will just have to stand by for 1 second here as Lewis Piper won the race. If I had known that was the last time, I would not have interrupted. Look how far Hudson Poole has fallen down the order.
There it is, yeah, P6. Okay, so the spot on math was right, but he was really close to falling into P7. Let's hop on with some of these guys as they start to finish. Magnuson Q crosses the line. Quentin K gets up back up to P12 after the incident. Combined YouTuber Mustard Green Cal, Big Mama Frank, and Cam Bourne are going to bring up the rear. Big Mama Frank still has a couple turns to go, along with the Alpine driver. So rough day for Alpine. They only have one driver, and Cam Bourne had a sprint race to forget. But the front row, two Ferrari-powered machines. It's Lewis Piper in the Ferrari, Marc Bastien in the Alfa Romeo, followed closely by Dougie Falcons, Maxime Beaulieu, Aaron Altmaier, and Hudson Poole. That was a
Mr.
banger
Great
of a
showing
sprint.
from Aston Martin. Yeah. So Aston Martin from, I believe it was P7 and 8, no, it was P6 and P8, now 4th and 5th. So that's kind of something to kind of look at. The time penalty really dropped Hudson Poole down, so you don't want to get any of those, of course. You would want to anyway. But here the point from the sprint race, Lewis Piper has 8 points, Mark Bastian 7, Dougie Falcon 6, Maxime, Aaron Altmaier 9 points combined for the constructor title. Hudson Poole 3 points, Luke Locklear 2 points, and Colin Edwards 1 point. That tops out the top 8.
That's the top 8. Yeah, Eric Carvalho, driver of the day, too. He brought himself up to, it may have been P9 when it was all said and done after starting something like P15. Um, so really good to see with his teammate, of course, on the front row. Ferrari looking good, Lewis Piper in P1. Magnussen Cube, I think, finished P11. So the top teams with some good performances already. Aston Martin is bunched up front. Um, and the Red Bulls, of course, as well. But, man, Dougie looks quick here in the Red Bull. D1 suits him. Looks very good. And there's the rain. Ooh, that looks heavy, Nathan. Do we know if it's going to be Inter's weather or wet?
That looks wet condition to me, honestly. I
Right?
mean, of course, uh, approximate weather settings. It looks like so. Yeah, like I've said before, if you look into the garages from this little screen here, we see that the intermediate tires are on right now in the Haas garage. So that maybe shows it, but if this goes to dry, I'm assuming the rain is going to get lighter. So maybe better to start on the intermediate tire, take the slower laps to start, but then you won't have to
Mm-hmm.
pit onto the intermediate tire, then even onto the dry tire. So maybe a bit of different strategies from everyone on this grid.
Yeah. The odds of being able to go wet to dry on one stop are probably pretty slim, right? So you would need to clear up real quick and have pretty good pace on the wets for that to even be plausible. So I agree. I think we're going to see most of the field here starting on intermediates. Um, we should see some action, man. I'm curious. Lap 1, turn 1, and turn 3. I can't wait to see what happens there.
I can't wait to see either, but I won't have to any longer as we go to the grid right now. Right, hold on. Right now. So 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light, 5 lights, and all 5 lights are on, and the lights are going to go out right now. And the lights go out. It looks like Marco Baston gets an okay start. Dougie Falcons also getting an okay start. Okay start for everyone. Side by side with Hudson Poole and Aaron Altmaier. Does he go down the inside? Yes, he does. They make a bit of contact.
Oh,
Lots of people going off in the wide area, and that's
oh,
an Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, and an AlphaTauri around in turn 1. Not what you want to see. That looks like Eric Carvalho, Madison Cube, and Kenny LaFleur all around. Major Castleman, we saw it going wide. Going into turn 3, do we have any incidents here? Looks like just a bit of contact, not really any spins here. That's good to see. We have a bit of contact from a Williams and a combined YouTuber, and combined YouTuber has lost 3 positions in that battle. It looks like we'll have Big Mama Frank on Marcel Green down into turn 4. A little bit of wheel banging, backs out of it, and the Alpine on the other Williams of Quinn and Gay is going for an overtake now. No way he sticks it around the outside. That's a Mercedes who I believe has had a moment of Luke Locklear. Oh, Board locks up and goes wide, losing another
oh,
position to the
Luke
Williams.
Luckily
So
in the
Quinn
gravel.
K. Oh no, Luke Locklear's into the gravel indeed, and the other Mercedes. Oh wait, no, that was Luke Locklear who was in the gravel. Other Mercedes taking many positions off of that. Major Castleman gained positions from the ones that he lost at the start. He's back to where he started in P12.
Wow, tons of action here on lap one. A couple guys get caught up in a lap one incident. Let's look at the big winners and losers so far. Tough breaks for Luke, Kenny LaFleur, Eric Carvalho, and Magnuson Cube, all caught up in incidents at different points of lap one. Big Mama Frank up 6 spots to P11. Cam Bourne up 8 himself to P10, looking great. Cal is up 8 spots as well, and as always, we see an Alpha Tauri fighting for the top of the pack. Did Hudson Poole just make a pass on Maxime Beaulieu? We're
What a
on
great
with him right now. He is going to have the run out of turn 3. And here we go. The Red Bulls, P3 and P4.
Absolutely sent it down the inside of turn 3. Great job from Hudson Poole. It looks like he was a bit wide in turn 4. Will that cost him? He has a bit of a moment going on the exit. Looks like he'll keep that position. His car is very shaky right now. I wonder if that's just a POV glitch or not. So far, one by one action, as it should be through these fast left-handers. In the wet especially, you don't really want to be going side by side because one of you could be going off, just like we saw Luke Locklear going off last lap.
Yeah, something to point out too in the weather report that the graphic showed it was wet the entire race. The strategies that they had was intermediate to intermediate. So I wonder if we're going to see any dry conditions this race, right? The estimates are always approximate. Lewis Piper sets the fastest lap at 114 rather, 626. But man, if these guys are on dry setups, grip is going to be hard to come by.
Yes, that grip is very hard to come by for Hudson Poole. He went wide off of turn 1, but it doesn't matter because he pulled so much of a gap from the Aston Martin right behind him in Maxime Beaulieu. And so the tire graphic you were saying, it didn't show any dry conditions, but that is pretty normal. I believe in Labib more than I believe in AWS because, you know, just in Labib we trust, as we
I'll
know.
second that.
Yep, so far, it doesn't look like anyone's going to be making an overtake. Best chance is Marcel Green on Luke Locklear. Doesn't go for it, though. Doesn't really need to. And if you're confused by all the ERS lights flashing right now, that is so that you can see the driver ahead. It does not mean that their battery is blinking. It looks like Marc-Olivier Bastion has just had the fastest Sector 2, and he's in P2 right now, so maybe that'll be crucial if he wants the win of this race.
Yeah, he's in P2, and he's fighting with Lewis Piper kind of indirectly on battery. They're both at 30%, so these guys have used a lot of battery early up. Now, in the rain, you tend to... Oh, and Lewis Piper almost has a moment off of the exit of turn 10. Dougie Falcons now sets the fastest lap with a 114.2, but that'll keep the gap at least the same as it is, and the gaps are getting close here. Let's go back with Cal real quick, and Cal's fighting this McLaren and Aaron Altmaier very closely here. These gaps are tiny.
I mean, gaps are very tiny, but it's really hard to overtake unless you're right in the gearbox, and that's why Hudson Poole overtook Maxime Beaulieu a few laps ago now. We're on lap 4, and so far the times are kind of improving, so I wonder if that's just hinting a little bit to the rain line being up. But, you know, that could just be because you're going faster. It doesn't look like the rain has stopped at all, so we'll wait just a little bit to see if the conditions will change. We hope they will, because, you know, dry action is sometimes better than wet action. That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, it depends on how aggressive these guys want to be in the wet. But these gaps are looking quite small, right? Dougie Falcons maybe putting pressure on the Alfa Romeo driver in the next few laps. Cal, 3/10 behind the D2 reserve of Colin Edwards, who's fighting off Quentin Kay, who of course had the incident in the sprint race. And we know he has the pace to be at the top. Luke Locklear, though, first penalty of the night, 3 seconds in P13. And that'll cost him.
So lap time went down by 1/10. I don't really think that's showing anything. Something I made note of last night is the comparison of driving styles. So in the wet, you kind of want to focus on the exit. The drivers like Marc-Olivier Bastion are focusing more on the entry and getting the slower exit, and that is why he's not gaining any time on Lewis Piper. You can see the time going down just a bit during the entry, and actually it's going down a little bit from the exit. But I think once we go into fast left-handers in Sector 2 and Sector 3, I think we will really be able to see how much of a difference it makes.
Do you think any difference? I know Marc Bastien plays on a pad. Do you think that on this track, these conditions, that has any influence on driving style or how they can perform tonight?
It might. So we know that, I think it's kind of known that controllers' pads have more of instant grip, right? but with the wheel, you have just so much more precision. And so I'd say they're about level on terms. Of course, maybe the pad will have a bit more advantage. Is that Cal around?
That's
Yes, it is.
Cal
It's
around,
AlphaTauri.
yeah.
No damage for him, but
No damage, but some trouble
still
trying to
spinning around.
re-enter the track. Yeah, so Cal looking like he just carried too much speed into turn 7 there and just spun around his AlphaTauri. So he'll fight to get towards the pack. But yeah, you're right. That gap between Lewis Piper and Marc-Louis Bastien has gone all the way from, it was 7/10 at one point to now 1.6 seconds in a lap and a half.
Yeah, so we're looking for the pace from Dougie Falcons. I mean, he's been looking pretty quick. It looks like he might have had a moment coming out of turn 3, though. I mean, yeah, we definitely think that he's deserving of Division 1. It's not really up to us, of course, but now that he's going pretty fast in Division 1, this is signs, this is, what do I say here?
Indicative.
It's kind of telling us, yeah, it's indicative of what could we see next season.
Yeah, it could be. Looks like Major Castleman's getting pretty close to the Alpine of Cambor, and that gap was lower than 2/10 at one point. Tricky area here now to overtake. I don't think you'd think about it in the wet, but he's certainly putting the pressure on the Alpine driver. He's going to feel it.
We can see Cam Bourne having just a little moment of on the exit of turn 7, I believe that is. I mean, that's pretty crucial, and he's having more moments. You can just see the front end sliding around just a little bit. We know that the wet conditions are hard. He has another moment. What's going on with the LP driver? He's really feeling the pressure of the Major. Will Major be able to overtake into turn 3? He focuses on the exit a bit more. Look at this run that he might have here. It looks
Might
like
have
the
it.
two Red Bulls just swap positions actually as well. And look at that speed advantage that Major Castleman has. He goes around the outside. I think he'll have the overtake done, but no, Cam Bourne goes back at him through turn 3. And Major Castleman will get the exit and he will have the position. But yeah, like I said, the two Red Bulls just swap positions and it's not cost them. And I mean, it has cost them so much. 1.7 tenths from what was, 1.7 seconds from what was 4 tenths earlier. That's not what you want to see.
Yeah, I was on board with them. I'm not sure if they inverted on purpose or maybe Dougie just had a little bit of a poor exit coming out of, I think it was the end of turn 3 where they inverted the cars. But we'll see if Hudson starts to pull away a little bit from Dougie and pull closer to Marc-Louis Bastien, who's now pulled within a second of Lewis Piper. So a little bit of back and forth here. I don't think Lewis had a moment. They could just be going back and forth on battery, and that gap is rubber banding.
Very interesting to see the rain has stopped. The only rain that we can see on screen is because it's being flicked up by other cars ahead of us. So we are going to be 3 laps away from the crossover point into soft tires, estimated 3 laps that is. That's what we saw in Division 2 last night. And so I wonder if it's just Marc-Louis Bastien being a bit faster in the dry conditions right now. And yeah, the rain is completely stopped. We don't even have that splatter effect on the screen anymore. So we are waiting to see if the conditions will be dry sooner or later and who will be the first to pit onto the soft tire. Not the soft tire, sorry, just the slick tire.
Yeah, the fastest lap is a 1:13.2 from Marc-Louis Bastien. That's like 8/10 faster than the best lap was before, which is 1:14.2, or it was at that point. So I think the track is getting drier. I think these guys are getting a little bit quicker. When they come around again, we'll see. I'd be willing to bet that it improves once again.
But it doesn't. Interesting.
Making me a liar.
Yep, no, I didn't mean to accuse you there, but it looks like someone is around, or did they go into the pits? Is that Big Mum
McLaren?
Frank into the pits? No, he's gone into the pit wall. That's why it looks like it, and we have a virtual safety car.
Oh,
Now, hear me out. Hear me out. This is, if it goes on long enough, maybe someone is ballsy enough to pit. Just maybe. They will gain time, and Cal has pit.
Cal's
What is he
in.
going on to? Is that the medium tire? It's a hard
It's the
tire.
hards.
Ooh. He's not going to have a lot of grip off the line. Will the safety car end shortly here? The virtual safety car, of course. It looks like Lewis Piper is actually doing some funny business under the virtual safety car. I wonder why he's pulling so much of a gap. Now you just have to pretty much fully stop now. Interesting tactics under the virtual safety car here.
That's a 2-second gap now, or it was at one point. Okay, now it's a little bit back to normal. Keep going back and forth.
They're flat out. Once again, they lift off. I wonder what they're trying to do here.
The deltas have been funky. There was a VSC in D3 I was reserving. And,
Oh, Marcel Green is
Marshall
getting
Green
through.
gets hit with the drive-through. I got hit with one of those too. The deltas has been weird. They're back green. And Luce got a little bit of a pull on Marco Sebastian, but the exit speed seems to be better for the Alfa Romeo. That gap is a second. And this VSC has seemed to spread the field out a little bit. I mean, these gaps aren't as small as they were before.
Marcel Green, has he come to serve in now? Will he be allowed to? I wonder if the team will pit him. It looks like he will continue. Hopefully he doesn't pit. And he doesn't. He's just serving his
Good.
drive-through now. So unlike a real safety car, oh, Big Mama Frank lost his wing when he spun. I'm guessing that was last lap. But anyways, like I was saying, under a real safety car, you wouldn't be able to serve your time penalty. But this is not a real safety car, so he was able to serve it. And I guess it was green when he did serve it. As Lewis Piper has a moment, he goes very wide out of turn 6. Look how the gap has changed. Marco Sebastian setting another purple sector. He's 5/10 up from his previous time. Is that indicative of dry tires?
Yeah, it could be. I'll note too, with the VSC and the drive-through penalty, there's another yellow in sector 1. If you are
Another
before pit lane
car.
entry when it goes green, as we have another VSC here. I'm not sure what it is.
Quentin K is the first to shoot under the virtual safety car to pit. Is that smart from the Williams driver? I mean, he has to commit now. Major Castleman also pitting. Luke Locklear also pitting. They are double stacking at Mercedes F1.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, I think the VSC may have been due to Big Mama Frank losing his wing on the exit of the pit. Because I hopped in with him right after turn 1, and his wing was missing again. So Big Mama Frank having a tough one. He'll have to go back in. Yeah, we're seeing these guys all come in for dry tires. Let's see what the leaders decide to do.
I mean, it has to be the hard tire, right? I mean, some will opt for the medium tire because it will give you more grip off the line, but I think the hard tire can make it to the end here. As
I
we
agree
go
with you.
green once again, will the gap between, who was it who pit first, is Quinton K, will it be good enough for the lead of the race here?
Let's see, he's got 4 seconds behind Magnussen Q, but he is the leader of the dry tire runners, ahead of the Mercs, 1.3 seconds ahead of Major Councilman, and probably about 6 seconds ahead of Luke Locklear, who took the medium tires, the only one who does, and the leaders all come in. The leaders have now come in for presumably dry tires. Lewis, Michael Bastien, Hudson Poole, Dougie Falcons. Dougie stays out. Dougie stays out to avoid the double stack, and he'll go again one more time on the intermediate tires. It's looking pretty dry out there, though. No rain, and the track doesn't look very slick.
So crucially, Quinton K has not really gained too much of an advantage from that.
Sorry, Hudson Poole had a little bit of a moment coming out of the pits, and I'm trying to see if he hit his wing. He is moving all around my screen. Doesn't look like there's any damage, but for a second it looked like he hit the pit wall.
So let me get with the net positions. As DRS is unable crucially to make overtakes here, let's see the gaps here. So 5 drivers have to pit. That will put Lewis Piper in the obvious lead of this race, but then it's I think it's the same order as it was earlier. It's Marc-Olivier Bastien, Hudson Poole, Quinton K now into P4, Major Castleman P5. So actually, that is a great showing from the Mercedes driver. But I wonder, will the gap in the pit lane be big enough for him to retake the lead here?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Castleman looks good. Dougie Falcons goes in. Track looked pretty dry. I'm not sure if he could have made up the time there to make the overcut work. Eric Carvalho fighting with Hudson Poole now for P11. Oh, there was a McLaren ghosted a little bit there. I think that threw Era off a little bit. He comes into the pits. Hudson Poole is by. Excuse me, and putting pressure on the AlphaTauri at King Leclerc.
Who is actually still on the intermediate tires. Interesting from Kenny Leclerc to stay out so long.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that move is going to work for him, but yeah, Quinton K, really well done. He's effectively P5 here, and they should be able to go to the end of the race. So Luke and Era also going on the medium tires, and Big Mama Frank. These are interesting strategy choices. Any shot the mediums can go the distance?
I don't know, but here comes Quinn and K on Dougie Falcons. He's got cold tires. That's Dougie Falcons. Around the outside goes Quinn and K
Oh,
on Dougie Falcons. No space for him there whatsoever. But I don't think the mediums can last too long. To answer your question, 23 laps from now, I really don't think they'll be good enough. The controller keeps disconnecting here. We'll go back
yeah.
to it. K is still trying to make this move happen on Dougie Falcons. He's very close, but that is it so far for the Williams driver.
Yeah, very clean, very stout defensive performance from Dougie Falcons so far. As those fastest lap time keeps on tumbling down as the track gets drier and these hard tires get softer and more grippy. Kenny LaFleur finally goes into last off the intermediate tires, and Quentin K takes P5 after an early spin and a couple of VSCs. He's recovered really nicely.
Yeah, and
Up
both
7 spots
Mercedes,
from quality too.
both of the Mercedes are in 6th and 7th now. Luke Locklear has a penalty. I wonder how much that will affect him, but he's also on the medium tires. Crucially, I really don't think those will last long enough here.
Yeah, it might be hard for him to A, go the distance, and B, have enough of a gap as
Oh.
Quentin K goes into the rear end of Dougie Falcons TV, but he backed off enough to try to keep him straight. So
Through goes Major Castleman.
through to his castle. Yeah, thank you very much. But you know, I think Quentin did a really good job there of kind of avoiding much damage, right? He kind of saved Dougie Falcons from being spun up at the end. He did lock up a little bit, but was able to mitigate it. Major Castleman, the big beneficiary though, and Hudson Poole as well, because now there's a 6-second gap between P3 and P4.
Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting. I don't know what the gap would have been before that. I can't recall what it would have been. I think it was 2 seconds when P3 and P4 were the two Red Bulls, but it doesn't really matter now. Look at Hudson Poole. He might be able to make a move on Marco Bastion into turn 4. He's trying to get a good exit. Is he going to go on the battery? No, he will not. I don't think it will be enough on this occasion. Does not look like he's going to go for an overtake here. We have a bit of a DRS train, thankfully now. And it's between Major Castleman, Quentin K, Dougie Falcons, and Luke Locklear now. And that is is that Cal DNF from the session? No, he's just retired in the pit session. So yes, he's DNF'd, but I thought it might have been on the final straight. Luckily it's not, so we don't have a safety car here.
Yeah, Hudson Poole definitely putting the pressure on the Alfa Romeo Marco Bastion. I think he could be in line for P2 when it's all said and done. It seems like he definitely has the pace. Dougie Falcons doing his best to hold up, hang on with Quentin K. And of course, as per usual, Codemasters decided to send Cal out for one last lap after retiring. So we'll have an AlphaTauri on track, and I really hope that it's ghosted as the leaders of the race are coming in and approaching it. Turn 3.
Stop it.
Yeah, it pulls off.
Thankfully, Cody's can at least retire the car off the side of the track. It won't make a safety car like real life does, but, you know, thankfully. Now, I am asking myself this question and this question alone. Will
Hang on, Nathan.
Marco
Sorry
Bastion-
to interrupt. Ask it in a sec. Dougie Falcons just made a move on Quentin K, and he now has P5 away from the Williams driver, and it looks clean. Sorry, that was going on at that exact moment.
That's alright. Didn't go into the back of Dougie Falcons like he did last lap, thankfully. Actually, no, that's Major Castleman is on no battery now. But my question was, I'll ask it now. Marco Bastion, does he have the pace to maybe get this win here?
I'm not sure he does. I think Lewis Piper looks pretty quick. I see that gap increasing ever so slightly each lap. We'll see. I'd like to say yes, there's a lot that can happen here. But he's feeling the pressure from Hudson Poole, and he doesn't have DRS to help him defend.
Now we could argue that the best potential here is Dougie Falcons. He's got the newest tires out of everyone, but crucially, he's very behind all of the leaders here, so I don't think he'll be able to really look for a lead right now. No, that's Hudson Poole, who has saved up his battery, and he keeps on having moments on the exit of these corners. So he hasn't been able to overtake Marco Bastion just yet, but I think the move will be on shortly.
Yeah, I want to have with Luke Locklear now, who's got the tire advantage on Maxime Beaulieu in a really small gap. He doesn't have much battery though, and he's only got DRS. He's trying to make this one on pure pace and exit speed. He's not going to be able to make this past stick. He goes into turn 5. A little bit of rubber banding there, but he is still right on the gearbox of the Aston Martin of Maxime Beaulieu. Draining his battery. He's going to come across the inside of turn 6. Try to make it happen. Can it stick? Really clean here. He's going to have the inside line. He takes it, and yes, Luke Luckler, P10. A
Oh, they
little bit
make
of
contact.
contact here. Let's have him, and
Maxime
Maxime is
goes
around.
around.
Maxime is around. That's such a tough place to make an overtake. And I wasn't sure of Maxime's point of view, but luckily he keeps P11 up only for a second. And now the positions go. Now he's losing ground.
Yeah, so if I was other Aston Martin of Aaron Altmaier, I'd be kind of quaking right now to see that that just happened to my teammate. But it's alright, there's two cars separating each other, and like myself, Colin Edwards has got a time penalty for ignoring a yellow flag, and I know exactly what that was because it happened between me and you. It was when a backmarker has spun around and you overtake them off on the track, you will get a time penalty if you do not concede the position, which really isn't even a
Really?
position. So, yeah, that is why I got a 5-second time penalty. So, from experience, that is why Colin Edwards is now at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, well, we're hoping we can get that removed, and thankfully he shouldn't have to pit again and serve the penalty. So we're hoping that that one can't get removed from Colin, because that doesn't seem right. Hudson was putting a lot of pressure on Marc-Louis Bastien, but he then had a moment in Sector 3, and that gap went from like a tenth to 4/10. So he's going to have to be clean here. But I want to get on to Kenny LaFleur. Is Kenny looking to make a move on the Aston Martin here for P13? He's got the tire advantage. He could be thinking of it down the front straight.
And Kenny Fair actually gets a time
Ooh.
penalty, as he said it. Broadcaster's curse maybe coming into play here, and there's a bit of an action happening. I don't know what I'm really seeing here in the third straight here between the top three. Doesn't look like anything is happening, but I thought I saw something. But anyways, we go back on board with this little fight in between the top 10 here. 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, now kind of breaking apart now as Aaron Altmaier has closed. Actually, no, he hasn't. That's Cam Bourne who closed up to Aaron Altmaier. Is that Magnuson Cube around, or maybe just having a moment getting overtaken? Who knows? It looks like he is disconnected from the session, though.
That's right. That could be it. He is ghosted, and I thought I did see a notification that he had left the session for some reason. So he'll lose P15 to Marcel Green in the Williams, who is driving. But I think that's what that localized yellow was for.
Now, you're a steward, right? I mean, I don't know, do people who leave the session and have their car drive on, do they get the points for their car?
So I'm not a steward, but typically you have to be driving for like a certain percentage of the race. I think it's like 80%. So if he comes back in and can finish most of it, he should be good. Um, but if he can't, then those results will probably not count. I never had an instance in D4 where, as Hudson Poole putting a lot of pressure on Marc-Louis Bastien, almost came up to his gearbox and hit him into turn 5. But to answer your question, Nathan, typically you have to have proven to be driven most of the race yourself for the points to count.
As Luke Locklear had made a move on Colin Edwards, and Colin Edwards is still side by side through this turn. Does he concede the position? Yes, he does. I wonder if he tries to go for an exit play here. He does not. And so Luke Locklear making those medium tires work, but I think he will have to stop again, definitely, or else he'll be in puncture range. And I have to say, Hudson Poole, I mean, I think the reason he's not making an overtake is because he's made a great job of saving his battery, and crucially, Marc-Olivier Bastien has been closing up kind of to Lewis Piper, so that is his one-way ticket to the lead here. Hudson Poole may be able to get this win still.
BMF had another moment in Sector 3. Back on with Hudson Poole. Right
Actually,
on
Aaron
the back of the
Altmaier
Alfa
and
Romeo.
Cam Bourne are having a fight right now. It
Well, let's not
looks
play
like
with
a
them. They're
little
side by side.
I mean, surely this has to be a move from Aaron Altmaier. Goes down the inside. He's not really very far alongside. He locks up a lot, and that will cost him the position in the end.
Combined YouTuber is putting some pressure on the Aston Martin of Maxime Beaulieu, too. They're both on hard tires. Maxime losing a lot of pace. He's got DRS. Can YouTuber hope to make the move? No. He'll stay in P13, at least for the time being. No battery advantage here. They're both pretty low. Maxime's been getting a lot of pressure in those two corners. What is that, turn 5 and 6? I think, or 6 and 7. But man, he can't catch a break during that part of the sector. As Hudson Poole just made the move on Marc-Louis Bastien, he takes over P2.
Now here's the big question. Will he be able to close this gap? I think he will. Same tire advantage for both of them. Will Marco Sebastian fight it? No. He will not go back to overtake. Unfortunate, but it looks like we do have Dougie Falcon who may make a move on Major Castleman. Major Castleman kind of dumping his battery, so that is what will stop the Red Bull from proceeding into P4 here. But yeah, so the Red Bulls are doing a great job at just saving the battery and putting one final charge and making the overtake happen. So maybe that is the strategy of Big Mouth Rings, is the 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, it could be. If I'm Marco Sebastian, I think that Lewis and Hudson probably have a bit more pace than me at this point. But I'm looking at that 7.5-second gap to Major Castleman and thinking, okay, I can maintain that and pretty much ensure a podium if I can maybe stay with Hudson for as long as I can, get within DRS range. But Hudson just at the fastest lap, 1:06.6. That was a pretty significant jump from the last one. So if I'm the Alpha driver, I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, Hudson Pool is absolutely dumping his battery that he took so long to save now. He's back to 10% where he was last time, so he's not even in the DRS of Lewis Piper, so he won't have a good as, a good as, what am I saying here? His battery won't regen as good as it did when he was in DRS.
Yeah, and he didn't even get out of DRS range of Marc-Louis Bastien. So not only has he not closed the gap to the guy in front of him, but he's not extended from the guy behind him. So it's a shame to see all that battery go to waste.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time though, I wonder if Hudson Pool would have gotten that pace, just off pace alone here. Honestly, I don't know if he would have. I mean, they're kind of level pegging here, Lewis Piper and Hudson Pool, 1.2 seconds the gap. We'll look to see if it goes down in these next few laps here. But
Oh, as
right now,
Major Castleman's around. Sorry, I was on with Dougie Falcons, who was putting pressure on him. Major Castleman spun. He's now in P8. Let's hop in with his. No, he's just tumbling down the order.
oh, he spun again.
And now he's got hot tires and is struggling to get back. He may have clipped the wall too, and
Gonna
have
lose
wing
more.
damage.
Spun again.
Oh.
Oh no, it's just getting worse and worse for Major Castle. He might be overtaken by Marcel Green, and he does. Oh, this is not good scenes for Major Castleman, and he spins again.
No, sometimes those spins can snowball, right? Your tires just get so hot that you have no grip whatsoever. Hudson Pool goes a little bit wide into turn 4, as Marc-Louis Bastien has now closed that gap to 2.5 tenths. This race is not over. The P1 and P2 are still up for grabs. Major Castleman DNF, what we assume kind of out of a little bit of frustration. So his race is over, and Luke Locklear now the lone Mercedes in a 13-lap old set of medium tires that he's got to think about getting 12 more laps.
Yeah, so right now I'm kind of watching on Marco Bastion. He's spamming his battery right now just to remain in the DRS of Hudson Pool for one lap longer at least. But right now Hudson Pool really hasn't gained much time on Lewis Piper. I wonder if he just had a moment coming out of turn 3, because that gap is going down in between the Alfa Romeo and the Red Bull. But yeah, I mean, that's really the only goal that Marco Bastion has right now. Stick within the 1 second gap of Hudson Pool and hope that something goes wrong ahead of them.
Yeah, while we were watching all that action too, Quentin K has overtaken Dougie Falcon, so he's now in P4. He's got 8.8 seconds to try to make up before he can fight for a podium spot with only 11 laps remaining. So Quentin K's first priority might be holding off on charging Dougie Falcons, because the podium seems a little bit far off, at least right now.
I mean, podium 8.7 seconds in 11 laps. I really think it's kind of not really there. But, I could be wrong. There could be a late safety car, and, that could change everything, of course. But right now, we won't wish on that, because that'd be bad luck for everyone around here. Broadcasters curse, you know how it goes. Mark-W Bastion staying in the DRS of Hudson Pool for one more lap. Kind of just surviving at this point. It is going up, though. Will he be able to stay in 1 second? Yes, he will be. Thankfully for the Alfa Romeo driver. So right now, you have two drivers in the top 10, P3 and P10. Right now, there isn't really too much going on for your two drivers, but however, Era does have the medium tires on right now. So what would you say? Would you try and stick it out on the medium tires with a bit of lighter fuel? Actually, no, these cars are a bit heavier since we had the rain earlier. Would you at least risk it staying out or pit him?
It's really tough call, right? If you're gonna pit, you need to pit sooner rather than later. to have as much laps left to make up the time, and you probably got to go to softs, right? Luke Locklear and Colin Edwards are fighting too, and Luke may be feeling that his tires are a bit old. Maybe that's why he couldn't make that position stick. He falls to P9. He's of course got a penalty as well. But yeah, to answer your question, man, it's really tough. I think if you're gonna pit, you need to pit in the next lap or two. Otherwise, you have to try to stretch because you won't have enough time to make it up on track.
I mean, that would put your driver pitting in like 14th at least, I'd say. And that would really not be a good showing. But at least you have Michael Sebastian to cover up, right? Because he's doing a fine job right now, just staying within a second of Hudson Pool. I mean, realistically, do you see maybe a chance of Michael Sebastian winning this race?
Yeah, anything can happen, right? If Hudson can close that gap to Lewis, and maybe they start fighting and that gap starts closing, perhaps. I think he's certainly got P3 in the bag if everything is clean and continues in the end. But look, he's got. Let's take a look at battery real quick, right? So Hudson's got 13%. Buckley Bastien has 29. So he's gaining battery. He's still within DRS range. There's plenty of laps left for something to happen, some moment. He gets good exit speed. I think P2 is possible.
Very, very realistic standards from the Alfa Romeo team principal. As we have a great battle right now, Maxime Beaulieu, Kenny LaFleur, and I believe combined YouTuber Maxime Beaulieu. I think he tried to overtake around the outside. It didn't work, and they went side by side for a little bit. But Maxime Beaulieu will have to stay just another lap behind Kenny LaFleur.
Yeah, so Luke Locklear's in. Luke pits. Oh, and he gets a speeding penalty in pit lane. Era does not pit. Era might try to stretch it. Luke goes to the softs. Let's see where he comes out. Will he be ahead of Marcel Green?
No, he won't.
No. He falls all the way down to P14. And see, that's the thing. Like on the soft tires, Nathan, can you make up? How late is a pit stop? You lose 20 seconds on the pit stop. Can you make up 20 seconds in 8 laps? I'm not sure.
Absolutely not. I really don't think so, honestly. Even if... Oh, actually, Maxime Beaulieu and Kenny LaFleur are going at it once again. Around the outside goes Maxime Beaulieu. Will he be able to stick around the outside? Kenny LaFleur sticks his line down the inside. It looks like Maxime will not be able to make this overtake happen once again for the second lap in a row. He's stuck behind the Division 3 Plus reserve driver.
Yeah, Kenny's looking pretty good here. Look, he's got a top 10 spot. Of course, that's pending penalties. He got a 3-second penalty going on, but he's looking really good. He's putting up a nice showing here in D1. Good stuff from Kenny LaFleur in the AlphaTauri. Those mediums, though, hey, for Kenny as well, right? Those mediums, though, have got to be... We saw, I think, 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, Nathan, in the D2 race in Silverstone, right? We saw some drivers really push on the tires. And was it Colin Edwards, I think, and that ended up having a puncture on the last lap? Looking at the tire status of these guys, we may see a similar situation. Denaro Altmaier just make that move on Cam Bourne.
Yes, he did, and something very, very crucial. Marco Sebastian is putting on a lot of pressure to Hudson Pool. Look at how the gap between Hudson Pool and Lewis Piper has gone down significantly. And I saw going into turn 4 last lap, they were almost about to make it happen. Marco Sebastian about to maybe make an overtake on Hudson Pool here.
Yeah, 6/10. They've both been saving up some battery. Lewis Piper now has a 2-second lead on the field. But Hudson's got 32%. Marco Sebastian almost 50 now. Quentin K at half a tenth of a gap from Dougie Falcons. Trying to take a look at the gaps here. Kenny and Maxime are still going at it. But for Kenny, I think those tires are going to lose some life.
Yeah, me as well. I don't really think that an overtake will happen from Kenny LaFleur unless he gets a godly exit, and he has. Luke Locklear going the fastest lap as he should. 105.9, faster than from qualifying times he's on the lower division, so great job from him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wonder if Michael Bastian is doing the same thing that Hudson Pool is, and it looks like he is. He's saving that battery in the DRS, and he might be able to make this move happen once again, as Hudson Pool did to him a few laps ago. Hudson Pool's got a time penalty.
Ooh. Wow. So that's essentially P2 wrapped up because I mean, like, anything can happen. There's 5 laps, right? But you're looking at a 9-second gap between Marc Olivier and Dougie. And I don't know, unless there's an incident or something, it's looking like a Lewis 1, Hudson 3, with Mark sandwiching them in P2.
At this point in the championship, it's really not possible for Lewis Piper to even try and win this championship. But at least we have someone different winning. After 2022's F1 season, I think we can agree that seeing the same person win every time wasn't exactly ideal for the spectacle of the race. When a K gets a time penalty, he's in P5
Oh,
this come around here.
wow, that's crucial too, right? Because now there's that gap between Quentin and Aaron, right? So if I'm Aaron, I'm going to try to push like hell to try to close that gap. And if Dougie, you can breathe a little bit easier. So Dougie is effectively kind of in no man's land, right? Because he's got at least now 4 seconds behind him and a 9-second gap to the car in front. So Dougie's just trying to finish to lock up the P4.
And we'll go on board with Marco Bastian here. I mean, of course, what he really has to rely on is either just dump the battery and go, go, go. Of course, the time penalty if he wants to make this move on track, or maybe just wait for Hudson Poole to make an error right ahead of him. And like that, actually, just like we saw, he was sliding around just a little bit was Hudson Poole. But he doesn't go on the battery. I wonder if he's just trying to secure this position by being within 3 seconds of him.
4 laps remaining. I'm hopping on with Era here because if he can make these mediums last, right? Let's hop on with Kenny as well. He can make these medium tires last, man. I gotta ask what percentage these are at the end of the race.
Let's see if I can get someone with telemetry to tell me that here. Well, ask Beeb, and if he gets back to me, he probably won't, but we will know. Alright, we'll have to wait a little bit because he's kind of slow. But anyways, here we go. Oh, it looks like 64% right now. There
Oh,
comes
he may, okay, so he may not be in puncture territory for that much longer, right? So I guess the low fuel loads then really affect that because he's about to go 21 laps on medium tires.
I mean, very possible, and that would be basically just P9 because he doesn't really have anyone behind him that could threaten him. Maxime Bollier 5.6 seconds behind. And so we've seen Luke Locklear. We asked if he could make up, how much was that now? Was it 20 seconds? And he really hasn't. So second P13, I have a bit of a interval gap glitch here because the times aren't really changing in the top 5 at all here.
So
It's
yeah, I'm seeing 6.7 seconds from him to combine YouTuber, and that gap hasn't really changed for a while. And now he's got 5 laps in on those softs, and I wouldn't say they're dead, but they don't. The pace advantage just probably isn't there too much anymore, right? So 2 laps to go. It looks like staying out was the call if the tires can stay alive.
I mean,
Battery
that's the
check.
question.
Sorry, battery
Sorry.
check. Mark is almost full. Hudson Poole at 63%. They're saving it for the end. And I think they might try to fight just on pride and see if you can get the
Oh, Hudson
P2.
Poole has
Legit,
a
he's going to
moment.
make the move.
Go on the battery, man, please. And he does.
No, he
Does he
didn't. He
go down the
conceded
inside?
it. Wow.
No, he's still on it though. Can he go down the inside? No, he waits. Oh man, we just missed out on some racing action as now Marco Sebastian goes wide once again. Now, I gotta say, that is probably the best overtaking opportunity that I will have the entire race. Why did he not take it, I wonder?
Yeah, interesting call, right? I don't know if he's got faith that he can make it in the end, or maybe he just didn't want to push too hard knowing the penalty had him in P2. We can ask him in the interview. I was on with Cam, who's really putting a lot of pressure on Aaron Altmaier, trying to salvage some points for Alpine. He looks good here. What did he end up qualifying? He ended up qualifying P18. Cam Bourne's been up 11 spots. The biggest winner so far tonight. And that 4/10 gap, he's got pressure on him. This could be a good finish for Cam.
So we were talking about it earlier. So Quinnick got a time penalty, which means Aaron Altmaier is trying to push really hard, and he's 2/10 away from P5. But
Wow.
if Cam Bourne can put the fight to Aaron Altmaier, that will cost him maybe both of them, honestly. Unless Aaron Altmaier can get within less than 3 seconds actually. Will he go down the inside? Cam Bourne, will he go down the inside? Yes, he will. Down into turn 3, they
Oh,
make a lot
contact!
of contact. Aaron
Oh,
Allmeyer has to go off the track and
oh.
switch around. Colin Edwards into P7. Will he even maybe get P6? No, he won't, but fastest time penalty for Colin Edwards from earlier. Think that was the one that would be removed here.
Yeah.
So P7 for the McLaren driver.
So I don't know if Cam was paying attention to kind of the interval gaps and how that would affect Aaron and ultimately him, but he kind of ruined it for the both of them. And so now Aaron Altmaier's got to make up 1.2 seconds in a lap and a half. I don't know, his dreams at P5 may have just been shattered through a fight that didn't really matter in the end. So in P3, Mark, last lap, there's no battery left. They're tied. McDRS, you're right, Nathan. That was the overtaking possibility, and if he wanted it, that was probably it.
I mean, unless of course he wants to. Right here, it looks like Hudson Pool had a bit of a moment on exit. Please just go for it, man. Onto the battery, onto the DRS now. He's getting just a tiny bit closer. Mercedes around in the second sector, going around the outside. Looks for the switchback. Will he get it? No, he won't. Faster on the throttle, but not fast enough. And it looks like Hudson Pool will have his position on track unless Marco Bastion can come back at it here. We have a back marker who spun around in the front. That's Luke Locklear. I wonder if that will change anything, but it doesn't look like it will as we go on board with Lewis Piper right now. He's going to the final corner now. He has all that he needs to get this win secured. He crosses the line. He's going to cross the line right now, weaving across the track to take the line, and he wins the Austrian Grand Prix. Hudson Pool into second, of course, dropping him down to third place. Welcome to second place, Marco Bastion. We look to Dougie Falcons now crossing the line at the moment. P4 is going to stay 20k. P5 and Aaron Altmaier has gotten a time penalty, so would not have mattered that fight. And Colin Edwards might even be in for P6 now after penalties removed. Cam Bourne now just hops into P7 after that penalty is there. Era on really, really weak tires, and he's lost so much time to Maxime Bolio, but it does not matter as he will keep P9.
That's
Maxime
huge.
Bolio P10, combined YouTuber Kenny LaPlayer. Marcel Green will be the next across the line, and then is Mexican Cube. And that is it for the Austrian Grand Prix in Division 1. So,
Wow. What an ending.
yeah, what an ending indeed.
Strategy certainly coming into play. Thermo, Luke Locklear deciding to go in, and it unfortunately didn't work too well. He kind of became a bag marker and ended up even finishing a lap down. So that was pretty tough. Um, we'll try to get these guys in here. But what an ending. Lewis Piper dominant the whole way, but huge fight for P2, P3, actually P4, P5 as well. And Quentin K finishing a really nice P5 after an incident. Had a great recovery. Excellent racing tonight.
Yeah, excellent racing indeed. I'll bring the drivers in for the interviews very, very soon. But what a great race, honestly. Ferrari getting another win. I think Lewis Piper is just doing very well. I don't think it will really amount to much, but at least he'll get good points for the constructors battle. The combined constructors battle actually is pretty crucial. We haven't seen it updated in quite a while, but this will be crucial to it.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at the race director here. So it did end up being a mixed conditions race. Another win for Lewis Piper. Now he joined late, so he won't be able to really be a factor in the championship, but he looks good. And certainly been on his top form in that past few weeks. So we'll hop over to the interview session real quick. And why don't we start with Hudson Pool, who's in P3.
Welcome,
Hey, Hudson. How's it going, man? Congrats on P3.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, how was the pressure kind of towards the end? Let's say before the penalty with Mark. I saw you guys kind of trading a lot, and then it seems like you all both held back and kind of saved some batteries. So what was that battle like from the cockpit towards the end of the race?
Well, I was sticking behind him pretty well to save one of my ERS, and I passed him, and then I went for a charge to get into Lewis's DRS, and I think I got to like 1.2. I was kind of close, and then I don't know, like anytime I would get close, he would just fly away. So he had insane pace today. And then I under practiced a lot for this race. Just before the race, and I didn't get enough track time, and that caused the 3-second penalty and also the penalty in the sprint race. I think if I didn't get that, I would have definitely had a good chance of winning. But it is what it is. And Vost had really good pace today, and he had a good P2.
Yeah, so nearing the end of the race, you had a bit of a moment coming out of turn 3, and you had Marc-Olivier Bastion right alongside you. I mean, even though you had the time penalty, were you still going to fight him if he did bring the fight to you?
Oh, you never know. He could get a 3-second time penalty, like last second, so I wanted to keep him behind. I didn't have an engineer or anything like that, so I didn't know if he was on 2 warnings or not. But yeah, I was trying to keep him behind. Um, yeah, that was yeah.
Do you think
I,
when you had overtaken Mark that first time, did you think you had a shot at closing the gap to Lewis in P1, or do you think you just had it today?
I thought I had a chance, and I tried and I failed. But what's the next race? Whatever it is, I'll properly practice for that, and hopefully we can get a good finish out of that.
Yeah, good question. Next race is going to be in Imola next week, so a little bit tougher of a track to pass than Austria. How do you feel about it, Hudson? Do you like it?
Um, it's there. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's one of those mediocre tracks.
Sure.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, dude, congrats on P3, man. We'll looking forward to hopefully seeing you back with us next week in the booth. But congrats, dude. Enjoy the podium.
Thank you.
All right, Nathan, you want to bring in Mark for P2?
Yes, sir, here he is, and here's Marc-Olivier Bastion. Welcome to the interview booth P2 for the Alfa Romeo team. How are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good. I knew Austria was a good track for me, and I'm happy with the podium. I had a good fight with Hudson at the end. I didn't want to send it because he had a penalty, and it's easy to lose it at turn 4 when the guy on the outside turn in. So I didn't want to try that. I just wanted to be stay in his DRS. So I know Hudson can be super quick, and I didn't know how much ERS he had. So I just tried to stay behind him and kind of vibe to the P2.
Yeah, you certainly did that too. We were kind of asking ourselves in the booth why you weren't sending it too to get P2 on track, but we knew you were kind of playing smart with the penalty. When you were also kind of in P2 for like the middle part of the race too. Do you think you had a chance at Lewis throughout the night, or was he kind of, it seemed he was kind of far away in pace. At what point did you think you had a shot at taking P1?
I was really trying to stay in his DRS in the wet. On the last virtual safety car, I lost like half a second. I was sleeping, I don't know. And after that, I really tried, but I was low on ERS. Sometimes I was close, and he was just using ERS, so I just couldn't. At some point, I said to myself, let's Hudson go, and maybe he'll be able to catch him. But at the end, it was just the same thing. So I stayed behind him. I was full ERS at the end, but he had a penalty, so I decided to stay pretty calm behind him and just take the P2.
Well, really nice job, man. Another week, another podium. Uh, Happy to have you on the team, of course, too. So a little bit feels good for the team.
Yeah, it is.
How do you feel about Imola next week?
It's one of those tracks. Not great, not bad. It's like Hudson said, it's there.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what Hudson said. Yeah, like on the controller, is that one that's a little bit more challenging or not so much?
It is because there's a lot of kind of quick chicane, and that's pretty hard on the pad. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, hopefully we see you up here next week, man. Nice job today. Good P2.
Yes, sir.
All right, Nathan, you want to bring in the race winner, man, Lewis Piper?
Yes, sir, the Ferrari goat himself. Welcome, Lewis Piper, to the interview booth. Another win under the books here. Congratulations. How are you feeling?
Yes, all right. Don't know, a bit of a boring race, but
Yeah, boring for
one
you.
is
We
one.
were watching all the action behind you, man, but you were pulling like 2 seconds a gap on P2. That was awesome. Chatter in the paddock too about quali. You're just putting up ridiculous times. Is this one of your stronger tracks, or were you able to kind of put in the practice this week?
I actually done practice this week, which probably helped. But yeah, it was just a good setup. Uh, I was consistently doing .1 bankers, so yeah, it wasn't really anything new. But yeah, my race pace wasn't as good. I've also kept up in the wet, which was actually good fun to be fair. But once it got dry, it was kind of a easier race.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
so
did
I
you?
mean,
You gotta go ahead,
oh,
Nathan. Sorry.
so obviously you joined a bit late in the season, so you won't be able to challenge for the championship at all. But what are your goals for the championship? Are you just trying to help Ferrari bring it to the combined constructors here?
I mean, just do as well as I can, really. I don't know where I can mathematically finish, but if I can, get second or third, then I'm gonna go for that.
Yeah, finishes like this, it'll certainly put you on track, man. So next week Imola. I've been asking all the drivers kind of how they feel about it. It's been lukewarm, I guess, from Mark and Hudson. How do you feel about it?
It's an alright track. I don't mind it too much. But yeah, just depends if I have time to practice or not.
Yeah.
It's really all depends on each track. If I practice, I feel like I can do quite well, but I don't normally have the time.
So last thing before we let you go, because I know you kind of joined late this season. What are your thoughts on season 7 with ZRL? Are you going to be driving with us full time next season, or are you going to maybe take a reserve role for a while? What are you thinking?
It just depends what happens, IRL stuff with work and college and things like that. But yeah, I mean, if I can race, I'll race. If not, then I'll go back to being a reserve. But it's good fun. So yeah.
Sounds good, man. Well, dude, we love having you around. Great performance today, good win, and maybe we'll see you up here next week.
But
Yeah, man, that was boring for Lewis, but it was exciting as hell for the rest of us. There were a ton of battles throughout the whole grid tonight.
Yeah, I mean, great race from Division One. I mean, we had rain in the previous divisions, and it wasn't really exciting, but now they really made it happen. So, great job from everyone tonight. Of course, they're Division One, but will all the divisions be able to cope with I mean, technical masterpiece set is Imola next week. So, unless you have anything to add, we will see you next week there.
Sounds good. See you guys at Imola next week. Take care.